Welcome to the Stay at Home Bookkeeper podcast. We are here today talking with Tracy Rosenberry. She is a business owner and our head of education here at the Stay at Home Bookkeeper Academy. We're going to be talking about building a business with your spouse, pivoting, communication with your clients, building relationships, and AI and bookkeeping. We cover a ton of topics on this call. You are in for a real treat. So let's get started.
All right, let's get into real talk today. I am so excited about who we have today. Emily, share with us who's here today.
Yes, welcome, welcome. We have Tracy Rosenberry. She is our head of education here at the Stay at Home Bookkeeper Academy. She oversees our mentor team and all over our success for our students and our programs. And she also owns her own bookkeeping business called Delightful Digits with her husband. Welcome, Tracy.
Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're so excited. Okay, I want to start off with something a little bit fun because I was looking at your website before we got started, so I'm going to plug it. Delightful Digits. If you look up Tracy, beautiful website. But that name is fun, and I want to ask how you came to that name of your bookkeeping business. We have a lot of students who get stuck there, but I love the name of your business. So where did that come from? Let's start there.
That's a great question. I'm trying to remember, how did I come up with that? I I don't even remember.
Oh,
We were
we've
trying to
stumped
come
her
up.
on the first minute.
No, I know. My husband, honestly, he's the creative one. He's the one that comes up with like the ideas. Like I have ideas, and then I bounce them off of him, and then he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, do this." And so yeah, so
Well,
I
I
think it's like
think
a
I remember now this I may be completely making this up, but I know your daughter's a chef and y'all were
yes,
talking about going into maybe niching in restaurants and maybe
yes.
Delightful has a little bit to do with that. Is that true or am I
Yes.
completely making
Yes.
that
No,
up?
no, no, no. No, you're not making that up. You're not making that up. But, things happen. We pivoted. Like I thought that's what we wanted to do. And then we just kind of like, and yeah, I did for a little bit. Then I was like, but you know what? I've done so many different types of businesses for so long. It just didn't, I don't know.
Mm,
It was just like I didn't want to fully step away and get into
mm.
that. And I don't know. It was just wasn't right for me. I thought that niching would be great, and then it just didn't fit. So I guess the lesson in this is, even if you think you might want to try something, don't be afraid to pivot because it
Mhm.
happens. It
I
happens.
love that.
I do
Look,
too.
we asked a question about a business name and it turns into
Yeah.
learning about how to be brave and pivot. I love that.
Well, and now that you say that, yes. Yes, I remember now. My daughter was doing some essays for scholarships. Because she's in culinary school right now. She's actually she's finishing up her next to last semester. She will graduate in April, so really excited about that. But she was putting in for some scholarships, and I remember like that was one of the words that she used when she was talking about her passion for cooking, and it stuck with me, and so that's where it
Mm.
came from.
I love it. I love it. So now that you've started this, you have this business with your husband. I know he is a new bookkeeper. How has that journey been? And I love to ask these questions because Deanna, her husband and Bill, they're in business together. And I think it's
Yep.
interesting whenever you are building a business with family, inspired by family to leave for your children, so on and so forth. So talk us through how that process has been.
Oh gosh. Okay. So
We're hitting it
And this
right out
is
of the
real
gate. Real
talk, by the
talk.
way. It's real
well,
talk.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know where to start because, owning a business like bookkeeping business is not new to me.
Mhm.
I've had a bookkeeping business for like 9 years, but different name, different business structure. Like we
Mhm.
changed everything just about, I don't know, a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
Kind of just completely, well, almost starting over. Um, because I was really focused, my last business was really focused on taxes.
Mhm.
And I wanted to not do tax returns anymore. Like it just, I like taxes. I'm good at doing taxes. And so I think like there's still some value in knowing that, in keeping up, with tax law and things.
Mhm.
However, what I didn't like is that I found that I was really focused more on like the deadline of it. Like, let's get this ready to go to get your taxes
Mm,
done and the compliance. It was all about like compliance bookkeeping. And I really didn't like that as much as I liked the idea of helping people see what their numbers are throughout the year to be able to make
mm,
better decisions. So like that part to me, that's why I switched. That's why I'm like, I can't really effectively do both.
mm,
And so that's why I kind of got away from taxes to go into just like really focusing on the bookkeeping for businesses so that I can give them those real insights in real time where they can make decisions and we're not just like after the fact going in and seeing, okay, here's what you made, here's what your tax bill is going to be. I can actually look at that and say, hey, we can actually do things now to help with the tax bill next year. And there's more value in that, I think. And yeah, so that's like backstory to that and my business and how, I had a business and then kind of changed and I wanted a clean break, I guess,
mm,
just because it was so focused on taxes. I wanted something new. And then, like you
mm.
said, we thought we were going to a niche in restaurants or food businesses, but that just didn't fit right either. But I will say, the tax business, the bookkeeping tax business that I had was just me. It was just me. I had no idea that my husband would be interested in working with me at all. His background has not been, in bookkeeping or numbers or anything like that. But it has been so good. It has been so good because he brings a totally different perspective. And
Mm.
I will tell you, like, I shouldn't admit this. Like, I feel like we're getting so personal here.
No, it's real talk. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I am notoriously bad for underpricing myself, and that's why like I have these little tools like the pricing calculator so that I can look at it and it tells me what to price. Does it mean I listen? Not really. I'm so notoriously bad for not just that, but boundaries. Like boundaries are hard for me. It's been really difficult. And so my husband has been so good about like, what are you doing? No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do so he like really and keeping me on track and really
Mm,
keeping me on track because another thing I can tell you what I'm not good at. There's a list. I can tell you after being in business, after doing things like I can tell you what I'm not good at, and he really helps me to be a strength in that area. Like he's
mm.
the strength there where I fail. So actually we complement each other really, really well. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been really fun.
I want to ask about this because this is interesting, with you and your husband working together. And of course, me and my husband, we work together as well. My husband Bill was in the corporate world for 25 years. And then he wanted, like you said, like, hey, I want to do what you're doing. Right. And so then, almost 2 years ago, he quit his corporate job to come and work with me and us do this together. It was a shock. Now, mind you, and it's the same thing. My husband has amazing strengths that complement my weaknesses, and I have amazing strengths that complement his, and we really are a very good pair together. But let's for real talk, I'm going to be very vulnerable here. When we first started, it was hard. It was really hard because I had my lane, he had his lane, we both had our own things we were doing, and then all of a sudden we're both doing the same thing. And I struggled myself with sharing this new lane with him. So I'm going to own that because it was me sharing my lane because this was my stuff. This is what I do, right? And then, but now it's funny because even yesterday I realized we were driving somewhere and I realized I was like, Bill, we really are good together because we complement even the littlest things if we pick up on things. But it didn't happen overnight. So I'm curious if you and your husband had the same thing.
Of course, yeah,
Yeah,
we're still figuring it out,
right.
we haven't been like what, a year and a half, like I said. So we are still figuring some things out for sure. Um, but yeah, I think kind of the benefit to how we did it too is really this was ours to begin with. Like I didn't just bring him in to the
Mm.
business that I had. Like I think somehow in some way that separation of like, okay, this business is done, we're moving to this business now, kind of helped with that a little bit
Mhm.
because
Mm.
it's not just, even if nothing, for just like mental mental clarity, right? Like just having that. So I think because of that, and because I really changed a lot of what my business was about, what our business is about, that kind of helped too. So I think it's a little bit different from maybe if I would have just brought him in to
Mm.
what I was currently doing and just try to like integrate him there. Um, the way we did it, I think helped a little bit.
Well, and
Um,
I think too is that we used to have a rule about like not trying to talk about work at the dinner table. And we had kids. We had three boys we were raising, and so we tried really hard to keep work separate from family. And now we find, because we do include what we talk about, we include our family in our business. We have one vision, one mission. We talk about it all the time, and it's not like we're crossing any boundaries because it is a solid, a unified company together. And so I think that's kind of different too, because before it was kind of like, no more work at the table. Let's focus on the family and the kids. And we don't want to hear each other's business talk. I mean, we were trying very hard to be very careful of that. But now it's kind of like, it's just called all integrated. And we actually enjoy talking about it at the dinner table because it is a family business and we are including our children and our grandkids. And so we are very much aligned with what we're doing. So it is, that's a transformation, I think, over the last couple years too. But it doesn't happen overnight for sure.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference too in like where you're at in life, because
Mm.
definitely when you have kids at home and kids at the dinner table, like that needs to be a little bit different than when your kids are grown and they have, like it's just a different dynamic, I think. I'm so sorry. Do you hear my dog barking? There's
It's
a
okay.
squirrel. Real life. There's a
Real life.
squirrel. So so if you hear barking in the background, I'm so sorry. Um yeah, so I think that there's just a difference in between, where you're at in life and how you approach business, right? And I don't know, and I'm kind of like going off topic here, but I think that all of it really relates to, because I know why I started my business in the first place was family, right? So I could be with my family so that I could, be at home with them, take my kids to school in the morning, be there when they come home, not have to leave them alone. That was like a huge motivator for me. And it's funny because I still do it for my family, but in a very different way. Like now we're looking at it in terms of I want to go travel to see my kids because they're probably not going to be living close to me. Just
Yeah.
the path that they're taking is going to be taking them in a different direction. And so, that supporting that lifestyle, but in a different way.
Yeah. But when you're a business owner, you get to choose that. And I think that's the difference versus having a job where you report in. This business, because it is yours, can change and kind of morph into your family change as it shifts. Because I mean, it does. Every family changes. Every family shifts through generations of your children get older, your grandchildren. Like for us, Bill and I, everything's about our grandchildren now. Like if we want to take off in the middle of the day to do stuff with our grandkids, we can because it's our business, right? So I think as you change, it's nice that your business can do that. Emily, I know you had a couple of questions coming up as well.
Yeah, well, I think just to point out here, because we've spoken about the different phases of life you can be in, and that's the beautiful thing about a bookkeeping business is you can start it at any one of these phases. It can grow with you, it can change with you. So Tracy, maybe talk a little bit about that. We have students who join from all walks of life, all ages, genders, coming from different backgrounds, different goals. I think that's powerful. So, can you talk a little bit about your experience with our students with that meeting this bookkeeping business, meeting them where they are at and being able to start from, kind of any background?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the things that, we talk about that a lot when we're trying to support students and, when they're getting hung up on something, which I just want to say, like the support that we have is incredible. I don't know if any other program out there that is like texting with students to see like where are you? How are you doing? What, the
Did you
accountability.
make
And I
that
know,
Facebook post?
yeah, yes. But yeah, I mean, so that is one of the things that we look at a lot is let's go back to their goal. What was the goal?
Mhm.
What was your goal? because I think it's really easy to lose sight of that. You have to, as somebody, starting a business, it can be, it's scary. I'm not like not gonna lie. It's hard too. It is hard, but you've got to have that why, that reasoning that you do it. And so we revisit that a lot. We really, try to bring our students back to that. Like, why are you doing this? Let's support your goals because, we have people that maybe they just want to make, $1,000 a month to help with family. Maybe they only want to work a few hours a week and they just, want to still contribute to the household budget, but only working just a very small amount. But then we have other students that they want to build an empire. They want
Mhm.
50, 60 clients and they want to scale and they want to employ other people. And so like supporting those are very different, right? Like we have people on opposite sides of the scale, but we can support that if we know what your goals are. And so I think, just kind of reorienting to what is the student's goals? What do they want to accomplish? Because we can support either direction, but
Mhm.
it's a different path, it's a different path to go to get a couple clients and contribute a little bit and, only work a couple hours a week versus really scaling your business and moving into, a CEO level of
Mhm.
your bookkeeping business. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, it's important to point out your goals can change. Like you shared, whenever you were restarting your business, you thought you were going to go in one direction and you decided to pivot, but you started it anyways, right?
Oh
I think
yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people get stuck in the planning and thinking, well, I could do this, but I could do this, but and then you end up never doing anything, right?
Yes.
Right.
And I
Oh,
think that's important to
absolutely.
keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about this. We've talked about this. I work a lot with our elite group, like our renewals, people that have been in the academy for over a year and have decided they want to take that next step. I work a lot with them, and that is one of the things. This past year we talked a lot about like niches and how to offer additional services and expand my offerings, and yeah, that's like a really common area to get stuck. Like, okay, maybe I want to niche, but I don't know what to niche in. And it's kind of like you just at some point you just got to say, okay, you know what? I want to try it. And like I did try it. Maybe it
Mhm.
doesn't work out. That's okay. We can change course. So
Mhm.
I think you have to be somewhat flexible and just willing to adapt and change depending
Mhm.
on how things are going for you or what you decide you like or don't like. And that's another reason too that a lot of times with students coming in, they'll say, "Oh, do I need to have a niche?" And I say no. I say no. If you're brand new, unless you have something that you just are like, I have, I know we've had students, in different areas. Like I know we had one that came from owning a salon and one that came from, owning a chiropractic business. And they come from that type of business. And so they already have a lot of network in that. And they're already very passionate about those types of businesses. And so niching for them made sense. But for most people, if you don't have bookkeeping experience, you don't really even have business experience coming in, how are you going to know what you want to work with? Get some experience, try different things, see what you like. Different people like different things too. I mean, we have people that find they really enjoy the marketing. We have people
Mhm.
that find that they really enjoy just the bookkeeping task. And
Mhm.
we find people that, oh my gosh, they really love to do cleanups. They love to put together those puzzles. And so that's okay to have that type of niche too, but it's okay for it to develop and not know exactly what you want in the beginning.
So let's kind of talk a little bit about basic questions when it comes to like bookkeeping. And one of the ones that comes up a lot is, mistakes that business owners make. So when you're getting the books, you're obviously a lot of times doing cleanup work or, fixing maybe old mistakes and stuff. So what would be, if you could pick out something, what would be maybe one or two of the most common financial mistakes that business owners are making and how you're helping your clients or how other bookkeepers can help their clients?
Mm. Oh boy, common mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, just something that you're
There's
seeing in most of your businesses that you're servicing.
yeah, I know. I'm just trying to pick one, right? There's a lot. You start to see patterns. I would say, you know, one would be trying to put your head in the sand. Like there's a lot of business owners that they just want to put their head in the sand. They don't want to look at it. They're scared. I
Mhm.
think that's a huge opportunity for bookkeepers to be able to provide some clarity on that and make numbers less scary. So, if you're a bookkeeper out there and you're not sending reports, or you're just sending reports and you're not saying anything, you're not trying to make an effort to change a business owner's view on numbers and how they work and what kind of insight they can give. I think that you're missing out. You're missing out on a huge opportunity.
That's
And
a mic drop real quick though. I don't know if y'all just caught that. Like that's a huge mic drop, what you just said. Because they're not. I don't think people pay attention to that. So thank you, Tracy. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, no,
that's
no,
amazing.
no, it's
That's
good.
huge.
I do think that's a big one. I really do think that's a big one. And I've gotten clients before that, they come from another bookkeeper and they're like, well, I never got my reports. I don't even know. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know. Or they'd get them, once a year to do taxes and that's it. And that's also kind of where I was talking at the very beginning of this. Like, that's not where my passion is. My passion is in helping people to see what's going on in their business. And, there's nothing wrong with compliance work. Although I will say, I think that just the way the industry is going, a lot of bookkeepers are going to have to figure out a way to not just do compliance work, because I think you're going to get left behind if that's all you're focused on. But that's another subject. But yeah, I think that is a really, really huge. I mean, and then there's just the little things too, like commingling. Commingling is such a big one. That's a one that I think we need to make sure there's usually just some education that needs to happen with clients. When you have clients and you're just starting to work with them, I think we need to take the time to educate them and tell them like what's best in their best interest, not just for them to be compliant and for them to do the right thing, but also how it helps in their business. Because if you have somebody that is putting things on personal credit cards, are they going to remember to get you all that information? Probably
Mhm.
not. So they're probably missing deductions. I mean, there's just things like that.
So what I hear is overly communicating. Communication is the key in this business, basically.
Communication is key. Yes.
So how do you communicate the best? Share a tip that you do to talk to your clients. Is
Um,
it texting? Is it emailing? I'm just curious. I mean, or is it both or all the above?
yeah, you know what? I prefer email. I prefer email
Okay.
because text is hard. I'll see a text message and then I'm like, did I reply? I don't know. So I usually will reply and say like, please text or please email me, something like that. So yeah, I try to train clients to email because email's the best. I can, there's tools in email too that you can use, that like you can snooze emails, and so that way you don't lose something in your inbox. I say that as I just realized I lost something in my inbox right before Thanksgiving. I was supposed to meet with somebody, and I just realized this morning she emailed me, "Hey Tracy, would you like to meet this Thursday?" I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." So things still happen. Things still happen. You've just got to do your best to make it right, and stay on top of everything. But yeah, email is the way I prefer. um I think that, whatever works for you is fine, but I do like to have things in writing. So even if I do get on a phone call with a client, I'll usually send a recap email, like an email just to say like, "Hey, here's what we talked about," because it's really easy for miscommunication to happen
Mhm.
over voice. So I really prefer to have that written email. I also, I think that Zoom meetings are great. These are great because, if you want to talk with somebody and actually go back and forth, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah. And you can do Loom videos too. So Zoom
Yes.
or Loom, like if you needed to say something and just be one way, you can set a Loom video as well.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, and that's something that I've been doing a lot more recently, is sending recap videos
mhm.
Mhm.
for a month, like because I have some clients that I don't meet with them maybe once a quarter. And so like I'll send out a recap video, just a short video, just to kind of tell them what I'm seeing so that they still get some insight into what's going on without when we don't have a meeting.
You know what I love the most about that is that that keeps that personal, because even if you do it on your phone or you do it on a little video, like you just doing this and you're basically talking and sending a video, right? All that does is that keeps you from being just a name and an invoice that you're sending. You are Tracy. You are their bookkeeper. It keeps everything very personalized with them and allows them to keep that relationship open. And I think that's key because a lot of people don't do that. And that's, I mean, people do business with people that they like. We talk about that all the time. Like business is built on relationships. And so to keep little videos, things where they're seeing your face, you're reminding them of things, I think is very key to long-term relationships with your clients.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And yes, it's a relationship business
Yeah.
above everything else.
So y'all are starting to talk about building relationships, which leads into the marketing conversation. And you both, I love how you both speak about marketing and building relationships with potential clients. People who may be listening, maybe just starting their business, don't have a lot of experience networking or having those conversations. So, Tracy, I want to start with you. Do you have any tips for getting started with building relationships with potential clients when you might be newer?
Yeah. Oh, yes, a lot. I would say, number one, use your network. Use the network that you have. Have your network share things. If you're posting on Facebook, say to your friends and family, hey, can you share this post? Just getting in front of people in the first place. Maybe you don't know a lot of business owners, but the likelihood that you know somebody that does know business owners is pretty high. So
Mhm.
if you can use your existing network of friends and family to help you to build your business, that would be number one. And then I would say, as far as like confidence, practice some scenarios. Like if you're going to get on a call with somebody, what are you going to say? ChatGPT is great. I will just say
Yes,
that.
it is.
ChatGPT
Yes,
is
it is.
fantastic to put in there and say, like, hey, I'm gonna get on a call with this person. Can you help me figure out like what do I need to say? And going back and forth, or even you can turn on voice and you can say it to ChatGPT. So if you don't
Mhm.
have family or friends to actually get in front of and practice, perfect. Like now you have somebody that can give you feedback. But if you have family at home, use them for feedback. Like act like do role play. Do role play. I know
Mhm.
that it's scary. That's why
Mhm.
ChatGPT is so good too, because it kind of eliminates that like judgment, right? I know that that's one of the things I love about it is I can put anything in there and it's not going to judge me. So,
Also
It's
Zoom is
called
the same
using your
thing.
resources.
yeah.
Yeah. And Zoom is the same way. I've done so, I can't even tell you. If you looked at my Zoom account and all my past recordings, you guys would laugh because I do everything on Zoom when I test it because I'll go put a little test D, I'll put test 4, test 5, test 6, and I know what it is, right? But then I'll go in and I'll just record myself talking and then I'll stop and I'll go back and look at my recording because one, I want to see, am I coming off sincere? Am I being real with them? Can I hear, like, is my voice of what was in my head, is it actually coming out in the words that I actually meant for it to come out in? And then I can see that. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to do that call. And you would be really surprised at if you can watch yourself with what you're saying before you do it. Sometimes that really helps with, because your intentions are in your head of saying one thing, and sometimes your voice doesn't really respond to what your head was. But if you watch it or practice it, it can actually be very helpful. I love Zoom or I love my phone. I do it all the time.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to learn to practice, and it
Mhm.
is uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. No one likes to watch themselves. No one likes to listen to themselves, but that's the way you improve, right? Practice, doing, and I would say also the other tip I'd probably give is use your past experience. Use things, have the things that you can pull from in your past experience. Maybe you don't think you have experience. Maybe you don't have, bookkeeping experience per se, but you have life experience. Are you managing your family budget? That's something. If you're paying your bills every month, you have some skills, right? So,
Mhm.
use that sort of life experience that you do have. Whatever experience that is that you can pull from. You probably have some organizational skills and some time management skills, and just anything that you can pull from to really help to build your confidence in what you're doing.
And I think confidence also just comes from repetition, right? We all, I assume we all learned how to ride a bike at some point in our lives. Can't tell you the last time I was on a bike, but the first time you get
Me
on, it's
neither.
not great, right? But you have to do it over and over again and be okay with that. I think that's something that when people are asking us about how to get clients, how to market, how to have those conversations, I think what they're really searching for is like, is there a magic button I can press that just gets me clients? And the answer is no. You gotta trade the learning how to communicate with people, learning and having those conversations, but you're trading that little bits of uncomfortableness versus the uncomfortable of I can't pay my bills versus the uncomfortable of I got to clock into my 9 to 5 and have an hour commute and miss drop off and pick up, you know? And I think practicing on Zoom and then having some, maybe practicing with family members or having some initial conversations that may aren't perfect. I choose that uncomfortable over any other type of uncomfortable in a life I don't want to live every single day, right? And I think that's what people need to get comfortable with is that learning process.
I
Well,
think
I
it's
would
get
say,
your reps in. Yeah.
Hmm.
oh, sorry. I would
No,
say
no, sorry,
too, you
Tracy.
were saying perfection, right? Like, I
Hmm.
think we need to get over that. I think
Yeah.
that, there's
Mhm.
so much, people are just like, they want to be perfect. They want to be able to answer any question that their clients throw at them. I tell you what, I was on a call earlier this week. There was a question that I didn't know. I mean, it happens. It happens, I mean, it's totally out of left field. So, but there will be things that you don't know. You can't know everything. You cannot know
Mhm.
absolutely everything about everyone, about every specific scenario.
Mhm.
There's going to be something you don't know, and you have to be okay with saying, you know what, hey, let me look into that. Um, you're not expected to know everything.
And how
I think
simple
that's
is
why you have
that?
to.
Just remember the phrase, let me look into that. That's all you have to do. I think the way to prepare for that is, I mean, I've even done this before with ChatGPT. I have XYZ coming up. What's the worst possible thing that could happen so I can prepare for it? And think of how would I respond to those questions I'm afraid of. I think having that plan helps you going into the unknown, right? Sorry, Deanna, I
No,
interrupted
no,
you.
no. I was just gonna say I've always looked at it as having a collective genius around me.
Mhm.
Like that's the blessing that I feel like comes with like pe having people in the academy around me. Like I surround myself with people that are smarter than me. I do it all the time. It doesn't matter in what industry because you want to work with peers, you want to work with people that are smarter than you because you are going to get questions that you don't know. That is life. That happens every
Mhm.
single day. But and when you say, I may not know the answer to that, but here's the best part, I will get that answer for you and
Mhm.
knowing that, so one, being transparent with them, and then two, knowing that I have the safety net of people that I can go to, I can ask those questions and get that is so reassuring in my business because I'm not feeling like I have to do it alone. And that's why you should always, no matter what you do in life, you should surround yourself with other people that can lift you up, support you, and give you the answers that you need.
I think that that's really important because not only are we talking about building a network of potential clients, you want to build a network of those like-minded individuals who have those goals, same similar goals in their life. They want to be an entrepreneur, they want to change. And being an entrepreneur can sometimes be a little bit of an isolating experience if you don't have other people in your life who understand the journey, who understand that I'm making my own way. If I'm going to make money, I got to go find the clients. I got to have those conversations and you can make that process a little bit less isolating if you have mentorship, if you have a community group like the Academy, if you have people in your life who've experienced that you can have those conversations with to help you through. So I think that was an important call out, Deanna, is that community.
Yeah, I think it's just also keeps you challenged to yourself too, right? Like it
Mhm.
also holds you accountable to show up in many ways to your peers or to the people in the academy or whoever it may be. I would never want to be on an island by myself. Like it's just that, and that's a lot of times when bookkeepers start out or any entrepreneur starts out by themselves, they feel like I'm on an island, and like you should never feel like you're on an island by yourself. You should be surrounding yourself with people so that when things like that come up, where like Tracy, I'm shocked that you didn't know the answer because you know everything. But the thing, right? Like they're in life, you're going to come up with something that you may just not know, or that is maybe you second doubt or second question yourself, and so that you can go back to your community or go back to your peers and just say, I think I know the answer, but I'd like to get a second opinion. Can anyone help me here? And then you go back and you're like, I thought I knew I had the right answer, but I wanted to double check. And yes, this is where I recommend. And I think that's so good to be able to just that comfort of knowing you've got people in your corner that can always back you up and support you.
Tracy, while we have you, we're talking about communication, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about lots of different things in the bookkeeping journey. I'm curious if you could call out a couple, maybe a couple roadblocks that you typically see with our students and how we redirect, like places they get stuck that are pretty consistent that maybe people who are listening can think, okay, let me look out for that and let me take some advice from Tracy so I can keep moving.
I mean, there's a couple of key spots where we see. I mean, number one, setting up your business. You already, I just want to like go back to the how we started this
Mhm.
conversation. Your business name doesn't really matter. We see people get stuck on that. Like, who cares? Who
Hmm.
cares? Like, yeah, it's kind of a cute story, but honestly, like when I was put on the spot, I couldn't even tell, I couldn't even tell you. So, who cares? Who cares? You're the only person that cares about your business name. So, just do it. Just get yourself set up. Just go through that process. That would be roadblock number one. Roadblock number two is marketing. Spending entirely too much time trying to figure out what to do for marketing. Again, we talked about pivoting. There is nothing wrong with trying one method and realizing this doesn't work. Let's try something else,
Hmm.
or adding something on. But I will say too, you gotta be consistent. Don't do it one time and then say it doesn't work. That's not realistic. You
Hmm.
got to be consistent with it, but also don't be afraid to change course. So I think just, all of it comes down to the flexibility. All of it comes down to just taking action and doing something. But yeah, marketing, choosing how you're going to market, actually marketing. Fear comes in a lot of times, and what am I going to say when somebody reaches out? Well, a lot of times, unless you're in person or on the phone, you can usually, if you're doing messages or emails, you can think about how you want to respond before you do. So that's one thing. But even in person, I mean, don't be afraid to say I have to get back to you. Like don't be
Hmm.
afraid to say that.
Hmm.
Um, Anything that comes up, it's figure outable. So, I think
Everything's
we
figure
just
outable.
everything's figure outable. I think we just have to, just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. I love it.
You talked about ChatGPT earlier, and I kind of want to hit on that just a little bit because I know so many people are afraid of AI and they're afraid of using ChatGPT, and yet I find it, I mean, an amazing tool, and I love it, and I see it as being a huge resource for bookkeepers. So I have a two-part question. The first part I'll let you answer is how do you use it, and what do you say to those people that are afraid of that or think that AI is going to take away their job or something like that?
Oh boy, I use it for for everything
Yeah.
anymore. It's so good. I use it to pick out my outfits sometimes. No. You
Does
guys
this
don't
look
even
good
know.
today?
You don't even know. You don't even know what it's capable of. No, really, the big part that I use it for mostly is I tend to overthink. So I might sit on an email for 2 hours before I send it. Having something to run it through, yeah, I don't necessarily need it to write everything for me. I have decent skills with writing, but if you don't use it to help you write too. But having that feedback of like, okay, is this okay to send? What did I say here? Did I include everything? That has been a huge time saver for me. Just helping me to not overthink things so much. So yeah, kind of giving me that confidence. Communication, that's a really big one. Just in like emails, also trying to come up with, what am I gonna put out for social media posts? Like what do I want to put out? It
Mhm.
helps me plan my calendar. It helps me to write what I'm gonna post. It helps me just figuring that out. Um, Really, it's just made things faster. I feel like it's just made everything a lot faster, because it's able to search so many different sources and pull all of that information in just so quickly. It's faster than a Google search.
Yep.
And
It is.
having said that, like I still don't trust it to go put tax questions in and have an answer, I don't trust that. I'm still going to go look for that and make sure I have a resource for that. Because some of the things can still be a little bit iffy. And it's also very much dependent on the prompt that you give it. So you have to make sure that what you are asking is really what you want the answer for. Um, so just a little tip on that on ChatGPT use. But yeah, I really use it a lot for just for communication, for figuring out what to do for marketing, planning things. I also use it for time management. It's really helpful. I used to send Emily messages and be like, what do I work on? Emily remembers. I don't do that anymore. I just ask ChatGPT, what do I need to work on? I have to do this week. Tell me, help me prioritize.
Well,
I
it's
get
hard. I
overwhelmed.
mean, that's actually a really, really good tool, and I don't want to gloss over it. When you're a business owner, you have a ton of competing priorities, and sometimes when you're in the weeds, it's hard to take a step out, put your head above water, and decide, okay, here's what really matters. Here's what's going to move my business forward. So that's a really good tool to say, here are all the things I think I need to get done. Help me clear out what's not important and focus on the top few things. Actually, I really like that. I'm going to steal that.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think ChatGPT is one of those must-have tools. Like it's in I have to have it in my business, and you're saying that you do too. So to the second part to my question then, Tracy, on that would be, are there any in your business that you would don't mind sharing? Are there any other must-have tools that you're using besides ChatGPT or anything that you're seeing that bookkeepers really should be embracing or utilizing in their bookkeeping business right now?
There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of tools. I will be honest, I've tried so many things over the years and I typically go back to like old school
Mhm.
tracking because it can be overwhelming to set new things up and to get started with new things and then to like learn all the things. I will say one of the tools that I have recently implemented that I'm loving is Anchor. That one has been fantastic. It's really helped to streamline um, onboarding because it puts together the proposal, the engagement letter, and the invoicing all into one thing. So I can send out one link, one email, and it does the whole thing without having to, go back into QuickBooks and here's my invoice and then send the invoice out and then go into HelloSign and have my engagement letter and send that out. And then, it just has streamlined things so much in that process. I'm sure there's other things. That's just like the big one that comes to mind, first of all. That's just been really huge lately. That's been a really big change for me lately. That's been incredibly helpful and not just a time suck on like, how do I use this? But something that's just really worked from the beginning.
That's great. Emily, do you have any final question for Tracy today?
Yeah, I think my final question is, going back to our students, people who may be listening to this business, to this podcast, wanting to start a business. What thoughts do you have now, seeing so many people come through the academy, build these businesses? You work with our more experienced students once they've gone through the academy. What advice do you have for them if they're sitting there considering starting a business but aren't sure if they're bought in quite yet?
Okay. If you're considering starting a business, okay, why are you considering it? I would just say that, like something's put
Mm,
that in your brain, something has made you think of that. Lean into that. I think I always tell my kids, like, trust your gut,
mm,
there's that gut feeling, trust it. So if something's kind of niggling at you and saying like, hey, I might be interested in this. Like, explore that. Take the time to explore that. And I would say, too, what Deanna said earlier about surrounding yourself. Yeah, we have mentorship in the academy. And I would say if you choose not to go with the academy, find yourself a mentor anyway. Go out there, find somebody, maybe find somebody locally, find another bookkeeper, find somebody that can mentor you because there's so much value to having a mentor, having somebody that
mm.
can support you. I've done it both ways. I've tried to do it on my own. Trust me, not fun, not the best. it leads to burnout. I've had mentors, I've had several mentors that have just been incredible, that have helped me to keep going, to take my business in a different direction. So mentorship is really a big one. And then just, surrounding yourself, whether that is through, a networking group, or again, through the academy, through a program that you can be with other bookkeepers that understand, with other business owners that understand, especially if you come from a place where, you're not a business owner, your family is not a business owner, you don't come from that. It is just such a major shift in your mindset. Like, you really have to become a different person. You really do. Mindset wise, you really have to become a different person. And that can be scary. It can be hard, but having support system around you, that is the big key.
Awesome. Anything else? Last minute words, Emily? This is awesome, Tracy, by the way. Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Yeah, Tracy, I just want to thank you for your time. This is incredible. And for everyone listening, you can have Tracy as a mentor, our entire team. If you join us, if you want to hear there are usually comments down below where our podcasts are. You can book a call with our team. You can learn more about us and this journey. But Tracy is just an incredible mentor on our team, and has created some incredible opportunities for our students as she's worked with them, and I'm just so excited to see what you've done with our students.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. I hope you loved it. We've surely enjoyed being here today with Tracy. So big shout out, Tracy. Thank you so much for showing up today, sharing such incredible insights. We really appreciate you. If you found value here, I want you to take a second, real quick, follow our podcast, leave a review, share this episode with someone else who would benefit from it. We really want to keep bringing value and sharing real talk with each and every one of you. And I want to kind of leave you with this. Remember, we've talked a little bit today about things that you can take action on. And Tracy was so great about pouring into how she got started, and the things that she does to move her business. And remember, information is only as powerful as the action that you take on it. And so we want to encourage everyone here that listens to take action on something, even if it's one little thing that you pull out of today. Take action and put it into motion. So that's my last little thing I want to leave you with. So thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.